池上彰と
増田ユリヤの
YouTube 学園。
今日はゲストにお越しいただいています。こちらに本があるんですけれども、認知戦悪意の SNS 戦略、この本を日本でお出しになったイスラエルで諜報機関で長年働いていらっしゃったという板井ヨナトさんにお越しいただきました。今日はよろしくお願いいたします。
よろしくお願いします。これまでもね YouTube 学園では例えばイスラエルのモサドっていうのはどんな組織なのかということをいろいろ取り上げてきたわけですけど、
はい、スパイオタクの池上さんとしては、はい、
そこに実際に所属していたという人にインタビューできるというのはなかなか貴重な機会だと思うんですね。まずはじゃあ今どんな仕事をされてらっしゃるんですか？
So today I'm managing a company that is doing what we call influence defense. We find hostile influence campaigns and we are fighting them. We work for governments and for private sector because there are countries that are attacking, like China and Russia, and there are also companies that give this service. We call them mercenaries, and actually you can go and hire them, and they do a pretty good job as campaigns, and they attack whoever you pay them to attack.So if there are two private sector companies, rivals, one can hire mercenaries and run a hostile campaign against his competitor. So we defend both countries and private sector companies.
もともとモサドにいらっしゃったと聞いたんですけど、モサドはよく、世界最強のスパイ組織という言い方されますね。なんでモサドはそんなに強力な諜報機関なんでしょうか
？So first, just to be accurate, I was not part of the Mossad. I was part of actually competing agency, the military intelligence. And of course, as military intelligence, we think that we are better than the Mossad. But yes, I can talk a little bit about the Mossad.
じゃあ、アマンですか
？Aman, yes, it's
アマンだ。
すいません、そんな風にオタク同士みたいなところがあるんですけど、アマンって何ですか、池上さん？
軍の情報部です。
軍の情報部。
はい、
じゃあ軍の情報部に板井さんはいらしたということなんですね。
Yeah, but military side is cooperating with the Mossad, and actually I was working with the Mossad and doing together operations.
なんでアマンに入ることになったんですか？なんかリクルートされたんですか？
Oh, in Israel, everyone needs to go to the military at the age of 18 and serve the military. Actually, I wanted to be an engineer. I went to learn engineering and only then joined the military. And up until today, I have no idea why Aman, the military intelligence, decided to choose me.And I just landed there and started to be an intelligence officer, not by planning, by mistake.
なかなかね、話しにくいことだと思うんですけど、アマンでどんな仕事をしていたんですか？
So in Amman, I was doing different things. I started as an engineer, working in headquarters, doing engineering. Then I understood that intelligence is much more interesting than engineering. I apologize to the engineers.But intelligence is more interesting. And then I was in different units. I was in a unit that was doing psychological warfare. Today we call it influence, but at the time it was psychological warfare. Then I was in intelligence analysis in the analytical division, and then I was in special operations. And the last job I did, I was starting and managing an influence operation,which we called soft warfare, because it wasn't just psychological warfare, it was also economic pressure and diplomatic pressure and things that the military typically don't do. But soft warfare is combining everything together.
要するに例えば軍の情報部だと何か戦闘であるとか戦いというイメージがあるわけですけど、そうではなく心理戦であるとかそちらの戦いというのがやっぱりいかにも現代の、戦争ということなんでしょうかね。
Yes, but psychological warfare is something that happened thousands of years ago. And Sun Tzu was talking about it. And、it was being widely used in the Second World War. And also today, the difference between influence that we talk today and psychological warfare from 30 years ago is just the internet, just the tools that we use. That's the only difference.
仕事としてそのエンジニアより面白いと思ったのはなぜだったんでしょうか。
First, it's very nice to know things that no one else knows. That's very, very nice. And the second thing is it combines so many disciplines and expertise. Collection, technological collection, what we call SIGINT, cyber, theory, philosophy, because analysis, how you do it, understanding geopolitics, the military part, because eventually it's a war, and not everyone sitting in the office can go to the field. It's not the same thing. Everything is combined together. There's no other thing in the world that can compete with this, I think. I'll just add, like, I have 4 degrees in engineering and economic and law and business administration. And in intelligence, I used all of them. I needed the engineering understanding. I needed the understanding of economy. I needed the understanding of law. I needed to understand how to manage things, everything together. And something that helps my country can't be anything else.
そういったイスラエルの方が自分の国を守るんだという気持ちといいますか、それが多分イスラエルから見たら日本は甘いんじゃないかなっていうふうに思ってらっしゃるんじゃないかなと思うんですけれども、やっぱりその強い思いというのは民族性とかそういったことなんでしょうか。
It comes from many reasons together. Personally, for me, I'm a second generation to the Second World War. My father took part in the war as a Jewish person in the German camps. And over there, he joined underground and he was fighting the Germans. And the lessons that he taught me from the day I was born was that we need to fight. Actually, he was more sober than most of us, because he told me, look, Jewish people will be killed all over the world. It doesn't matter where you go, you will be killed. At least in your country, you can fight, and then you can die honorably. So that was the main reason. And living in Israel, on average, every 10 years, we have some kind of a war. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them, we were attacked. We weren't looking for anything. And the Arabs were looking to kill us. So living in Israel, you have this feeling that if you don't fight, you will lose. And losing means dying. It doesn't mean that it will be occupied by someone else. So it's like 1 and 0. It's not very difficult to choose. One last thing, sorry for the lengthy answer. I'm here in Japan and wrote the book because what happened 2 years ago in Israel, in October 7th, when everything was peaceful in one day, and then a day later, thousands of terrorists came into the country and killed civilians, 1,200 people, in the most terrible ways you can imagine. Nothing that anyone in the world should go through or even watch in movies and videos. And for us Israelis, it is a real trauma. Of course, for those who were there, but for anyone else, it's a small country, less than 10 million people. It's personal. And when I come to Japan, I see exactly what you describe. I see a country that didn't see a war since 1945, has no capability to defend itself. I don't want to insult the military. Good people doing good job here in Japan. But the enemy, China, huge and planning and equipped. And Japan is not there mentally. And I felt that I need to come here and sound some kind of an alarm, telling Japanese people, whatever happened in your history, in your decision not to fight anymore, that was working up until today, it's not going to work in the future, in the near future, not 100 years from now. And Japan needs to prepare, because if you do not prepare, some Japanese people living in some islands down in the south will find themselves in the same situation that Israeli civilians found themselves 2 years ago. And that's not going to be nice.
特にイスラエルというのは周りを、敵意を持った国に囲まれてますよね。そういう中で特に、諜報機関、アマンのような諜報機関というのはどんな役割を果たしているんでしょうか。
Okay, so as military intelligence, we are supposed to gather information about possible wars. When there is not war, you're learning about the enemy, what weapons they have and what training they have. When there is a war, you need to provide information about location of military forces, what they are doing, etc. For this, you need to gather information. There are many gathering techniques, as I mentioned, like SIGINT, like signal intelligence, HUMINT, which is human spies, actually. OSINT, the open source intelligence. VISINT, the visual intelligence. Today they call it geo-intelligence because it's more with other wavelengths that brings more information, like radars that penetrate the ground and things like that. So there's a lot of gathering. It's different type of information. You need to combine it together. So analysis, different arenas, north, south, east, so different geographies. So you need to combine everything and do the analysis and then send the information to the right units, because if they don't get the information, it doesn't help. So basically this is military intelligence.
ということは周辺の国に潜入するということも伊丹さんはなさいました？
Yes. I want to give you an example with your permission from the last war between Israel and Iran. And before that, I want to say I haven't been working for the government for the last 15 years. So I'm not updated with the details, but I think it is still a very good example explaining about Aman, the Mossad, the cooperation and how it works. Iran was developing nuclear weapons. In Israel, someone decided that they are breaking and trying to create a nuclear bomb. This someone needed to do some technical analysis about how do you build a bomb and what information you gather in order to understand. Most probably it was analytical division in Amman. And then they said something is happening, and most probably the prime minister decided on attacking. The attack was a military air force. So the air force flew to Iran and attacked Iran. But what does it mean? They need to take down anti-aircraft missiles. They need to know where it is. So someone had to gather this information and then feed it to the pilots in order to fly and shoot it down. And after taking down these missiles, they were able to attack other targets. Again, someone had to collect this information and then send it. So most of the analysis and sending to the pilots is military intelligence. But Aman is not gathering this information from Iran. This is the task of the Mossad. Mossad is a different agency, and they are gathering information from areas that are outside of Israel, and specifically in places that are far away, for example, Iran, thousands of kilometers away from Israel. So the cooperation is that the Mossad is gathering the information, giving it to Aman. Aman does the analysis, and then the military is using this information.
伊丹さんも例えば外国に潜入したとお話をしましたけれど、周りはアラブ人だったりあるいはペルシャ人だったりするわけですよね。そこでユダヤ人としてそれぞれの国の中でアラブ人として行動したりペルシャ人として行動したりするんでしょうか？
I cannot really say exactly because other people are maybe using these methods. So I apologize, but I cannot answer.
特に今はね現役ではないとはいえ、例えばイスラエルがガザのハマスと、戦闘をこれまでずっと続けてきました。これから和平が実現するのかどうかというところなかなか見えてこないわけですけど、この今の戦闘を伊丹さんはどのように見ていらっしゃいますか？
On the way here, I opened my phone and I saw a message from my wife telling me that they signed the agreement. Now, the Hamas is a terror organization, and up until today, they were lying for about everything and promising things and not delivering. So I want to be very cautious and say that up until I see with my own eyes that things are happening, I don't trust the signed paper. But theoretically, there is now an agreement where Israel and Hamas agreed to end the war after 2 years of fighting, and the Hamas is supposed to release the hostages, people that were kidnapped, civilians that were kidnapped from Israel on October 7th, 2 years ago. If you allow me, I would like to connect one point that has to do with the Hamas to the war in Iran and to Japan, and doing it by talking about human intelligence. So there was a lot of intelligence gathering from the Hamas. And today we know that the plan of attack was obtained by Israel by digital means. And the military started to prepare, but from reasons I personally don't really understand, stopped preparation. And then fell asleep, and then we had the attack. But talking about human operation, spies, if there were spies in Gaza a day or two before the attack, and they were telling the Israeli intelligence, and I don't care if it's the Internal Security Service, Aman or Mossad, something is happening. People are gathering. They are going to the tunnels. They are preparing their weapons. They are gathering in the morning in the mosque. This would have been enough for the military to be ready for the attack. This didn't happen because there were no spies, which is a huge failure. I want to compare it to Iran. Iran was a huge success. Israel controlled the skies above Tehran for 12 days. The Iranians couldn't do anything. It's beyond humiliation. It's showing a huge capability that Israel had over Iran. Part of it was obtained by human resources. Some of them brought the intelligence, some of them were attacking on the ground using drones. So having human capabilities in Iran was part of the huge success. Not having human capability in Gaza was part of the failure. Looking at Japan, you don't have a human capability. It's illegal. You don't use this capability. So looking again at Japan and future risks, if you don't develop this capability, you might end like Israel in Gaza and not end like Israel in Iran.
ガザでスパイがいなかったというと、シンベトは何をしてたんですか?
So Shin Bet is Internal Security Services, and they were responsible for recruiting human resources in Gaza. That was their responsibility, not Aman, not the Mossad. And they totally failed. Just failure.
今ね、その奥様と電話で、お話メッセージが来たという話でしたけれども、今日の段階での10月9日の段階ではイスラエルとハマスと第一段階でのその、合意がなって、で人質が一応返されるというような段階になりました。でイスラエルのこの今の状況を見ていると、政府の話が出てきましたけれども、その政府がこの戦争を続けてた方がネタニヤフ首相が捕まらなくて済むと、汚職の問題があって、起訴されてると、いろいろなその政治的な問題があると思うんですけれども、その点についてはどういうふうに見てきて、そして今回のその人質が返されることで政府の動きというのは変わってくるというふうに思うか、その2点について教えてもらえますか?
That's very complicated to answer. I'm only a citizen in the country, but I would like to share my personal perspective. There were many voices in Israel of the opposition blaming Netanyahu, the prime minister, for continuing this war without real reason. Personally, I myself think that this criticism is not right. The Hamas was refusing to give back the hostages up until 2 or 3 days ago. Nothing helped. And they held the last 20 alive hostages and 28, I think, or 25 bodies, not releasing them. And nothing helped. And only Trump, with this crazy agreement that he brought, and something else. And I do believe that something else was military pressure. Part of it was the Israeli military going into the city of Gaza, which, according to Voices from Gaza that I'm monitoring, it's OSINT, it's open source information, was a huge blow to the Hamas. And the other thing was the Air Force attack in Qatar, which again got so much criticism about Israel attacking terrorists in a foreign country, which may or may not be against international law. That's a huge thing. But most people believe that this made the Hamas leaders in Qatar change their minds. So without the military pressure, and the last military pressure, nothing would have worked. And the criticism from Israeli opposition, this agreement is very similar to what Biden suggested a year and a half ago. I don't know, I'm not into the details, but even if they are right, a year and a half ago, the Hamas refused. And half a year ago, the Hamas refused. And a month ago, the Hamas refused. So personally, I believe that Netanyahu, because he went through a shock, as I personally went and anyone else in Israel went, understanding that the Hamas cannot be contained and what they want is just to kill Israelis, and they are willing to die, and they are willing to take with them tens of thousands of civilians. I'm not sure how many people died, because the numbers that we are being given by the Palestinians are inflated. They claim like 65,000, but even if it's half of it, 30,000, and let's say that half of them are terrorists, still 15,000 civilians dead? Why? What did they gain? And the reason that civilians are dead is not because Israeli soldiers are walking in the street and shooting kids. This doesn't happen. It's because the Hamas is hiding behind civilians, in houses with civilians, in tents with civilians. A week ago, 4 days ago, the Hamas was attacking another tribe in Gaza, because this tribe was defying the Hamas. It has nothing to do with Israel. But when they went to attack this tribe, they were afraid that the Israeli Air Force will see them and attack them. So they used kids. They took kids with them in order to make sure that the Israeli Air Force will not attack them. They are hiding behind kids. Now, according to international law, if he's a terrorist and he's coming to attack you, you are allowed to attack him even if he's hiding behind civilians. That's the Israeli explanation why this happens and why the civilians are dying, not because crazy Israelis, because the Hamas is hiding behind them. Coming back to our story. So Netanyahu understood that the Hamas is not going to give up. A month ago, leaders of the Hamas in Gaza and in Qatar said, we want again to have this October 7th, this attack. So I believe that Netanyahu, because of a shock and because of what the Hamas is saying, decided that this should be the end of the Hamas and that he should continue the war until the end, and not because of corruption or internal pressure. That's my personal belief. Yes, he has crazy ministers from extreme right wing that are saying things that are horrible, and most of the population in Israel don't like it. And yes, he has them in his government, and he doesn't throw them out because no one else is willing to be with him in the government. So in a way, he's doing things that no one is happy about. But specifically, your question, continuing the war, I think it's wrong, and the proof is that there is a signed agreement. Now, you might say, okay, you'll get these 20 prisoners and you'll go back to war. I say, let's wait a week or two and see the situation. Okay, Israeli military pressure is Israeli military taking over Gaza. There was the last operation, not the current one, the last one was taking like 60 to 65% of the area of Gaza under Israeli military presence. I don't want to call it occupation because it's temporary. But Israel took over 65% of the land. And now the second operation, currently running and stopped because of this agreement, Israel took like 5 to 10% more. So Israeli military pressure is taking land And land is what is so important. If I can, I would like to add something else. I talked about Netanyahu's partners in the government, and I want to talk about influence. So I'll give you an example. There was a flotilla, like 49 ships, going to Gaza to save the Gazans and give them and bring with the ships a lot of equipment to help the Gazans. Israel decided to stop this. Why? Because it's a war zone, and if they go in, they might be hurt. So, military stopped the ships. No one was hurt. Everyone was taken calmly. How do I know? Because the soldiers had a body camera. So everything was recorded. You can see it in the videos. No violence, nothing problematic. Ministry of Foreign Affairs understood the situation, made sure that everything is legal according to international law. Everything is doing in the right way, and most of the people are already back home, were sent. One stayed in Israel because she bit a police officer and attacked him. So this is why she's safe, but all the rest are already back home. So from the influence perspective, Israel prepared itself in order to explain that we were doing the right thing. More than that, after going on to the ships, we found out that there was almost no equipment to help Gaza on it. You could put everything in one Japanese small car. There wasn't supply for Gaza. It was only for publicity, for the people to get likes and for influence. They weren't coming to help Gaza. So for Israel, it was an opportunity to show that we are the right side, and here is a cynical, opportunistic people taking advantage of the situation or trying to influence Israel. But Netanyahu, in his government, has a minister of internal security, Itamar Ben-Gvir. And he, extreme right, wanted to show off. So he asked these people to be put in a more harsh prison. And he came to visit them, shouting that they are terrorists and they should be taken care of as if they are terrorists and no niceties, and we should be very aggressive towards them. And he took, of course, selfies and uploaded in his social media users. So the entire world was seeing an Israeli minister saying that we should be very aggressive and treat these people like terrorists. No one remembers what Ministry of Foreign Affairs said or the body cameras showing it's wrong. So from perspective of influence, that was a terrible disaster. And then these people came back to their homes and started lying, telling that they were abused and tortured and things that are a lie and can be proven easily by the camera. But people around the globe, they don't care about proof. They have this video of this crazy Israeli minister and have the stories of people coming home. And for them, 1 + 1 is 2. And here we are. Israel lost the fight on perception and influence.
その今お名前言った大臣っていうのは要するにネタニヤフ政権の鍵を握る2人の1人ってこと？なんですよ。要するに極右の人とあれで今言ったようなことをしてる人と西岸地区のことをやってる人の1人ですよね。なんですよ。この2人がなぜネタニヤフさんと一緒にいるのかっていうことが映像を見ててもいつも不思議になるっていうか、イスラエルの人たちそういうふうに思わないんですか？どうなんですか？ちょっと何ですか、人柄というか能力というか、この人たちが政府を動かす2人になっちゃってるっていうところが非常に疑問に思ってるんですけど、どんなふうに見てるんでしょうか？
I cannot talk against my country, but I can say that many citizens think that these two are failed ministers because we see what they do in their ministries and it's a failure. Number of citizens killed by crime doubled while Ben-Gvir is the minister. Same goes with Minister of Finance, the other guy, Smotrich, who is extreme right. Terrible situation. And since he's ultra-Orthodox, his solution for the problem is God will help us. Apparently God is busy and is not helping us, so that's not a solution. But I want to add something. Here in Japan, it's very quiet, very civilized, very polite. and you're looking at a place thousands of miles away, and you think to yourself, crazy gaijin, Arabs invading and killing people and burning them alive, and the Jews are retaliating and killing tens of thousands of people. This will never happen in Japan. I would like to, mention that your enemies are not Japanese. Your enemies are gaijin. So you need to take it into consideration. This is one thing. The other thing is talking about irresponsible ministers. Okay, we Israelis are gaijin in the bad interpretation of the word. I accept it. But can you look at your politicians and start seeing some people in the Japanese politics saying things in order to be more popular? Are there people that social media is starting for them to be so important that they might say the wrong things in social media? Because looking from outside into Japan, I think that I start seeing cracks. It's not happening in Japan yet, but I think that the door is slightly open. So please run fast forward in your head 10 years from now. Are you sure that your politicians will be responsible? Or maybe there will be someone that will do foolish things, not as crazy as my ministers, but crazy enough to harm Japan.
例えばその SNS に対するやっぱりこの向き合い方っていうのは非常に難しい時代だというふうに感じるんですけれども、これはどのように付き合う、向き合う、利用するしていったらいいというふうに思われますか？その政治に対する影響、私たち国民に対する影響、世界に対する影響ということもあると思うんですけれども。
Unfortunately, I think that humanity, we lost control over social media. We let capitalism rule it, and it is coming back at us. And when you connect AI to social media, then this is really, really scary. But I don't have any solution.
じゃあご本人はどういうふうにしていこうと思ってますか？仕事も個人的にも。
So first thing and the most important, and it's a proven effective concept, people should be aware of it. And this is why you're holding my book. I would like people in Japan just to be aware that social media is being manipulated. That when you read messages, it's not verified news. It's someone said something. And if you understand that, 50% of the fake like anti-vaxxers, fake like wars and Chinese attacks, and fake like irresponsible people. 50% of the damage is being stopped even before it happened. So this is the most important thing, being aware of it. And then teaching the younger generation to check everything and actually not to trust anything. For example, my son, when I'm talking to him, is going to ChatGPT and checking things. But China and Russia are influencing ChatGPT. They open websites that no human being is going to read them because they are unreadable. But with the amount of data in it, they are changing the statistics. And LLM, AI, ChatGPT is based on statistics. So if they write trillion times Japan is bad in a website, and that's all that is written in a website, and ChatGPT goes over this website and absorbs it into its database, it changes the statistics. And suddenly Japan stops being a good and nice country and becomes a bad country. And this is a type of attack on the truth that currently Russia and China are running on our truth and on our AI models. So we can't trust actually anything, which is crazy. When I was young, there was true and there was false, and there was evidence and there was logic. And when I'm teaching my son, all I can tell him, don't trust anything. Just verify and check. And if it is on paper, it is better because old encyclopedia is more accurate than current databases.
満足いきましたか？も
う満足しました。今日本当にありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。Thank you so much.
Thank you.
まさか本物のスパイからこんな話を聞けるとは思ってなかったんですけれども、どうでしょう？
そうですね。 イスラエルのスパイっていうのはこんなことを考えているのか、あるいはイスラエルの諜報機関というのはこういう国家安全保障観念というのを持っているんだなということはよくわかりましたね。
ネタニヤフ首相に対しても非常に擁護的な発言がありました。いかがですか？
これはやっぱりネタニヤフ政権の下で仕事をしてきた人ならではの発言なのかなって思いますね。ただ客観的に本当にそうなのかというのはまた異論はあるんだろうと思いますけどね。
いろいろな安全保障の考え方であるとか、やっぱり日本に対してすごく心配をしているそうなんです。伊丹さん日本が大好きで、だからこそ日本ってちょっと無防備じゃないのっていうような観点からお話をしてくださったというところがあるんですね。
だからイスラエルからあるいはイスラエルのスパイから見ると日本はどうも穴だらけじゃないかとか隙だらけじゃないかというこういう心配をしてくださってるってことは分かりましたけどね。でもじゃあ日本がその通りにイスラエル風にやればいいのかというのはこれは国の状況も違いますし歴史も違いますから、そんなことは一概には言えないということだと思いますよね。
だからやっぱりそのユダヤ人の人たちがいかにいろいろな場面で殺害されるとか、そういった危機を何回も何回も繰り返してきて、また最近でもそういったテロ行為もあってという中で、そういうことが起こらないように、自分たちが攻撃された時にどうやって守っていくかということをずっとやってきた人たちだという人たちの考え方だと、こういう自分たちの国の守り方であるとか他の国との対峙の仕方になるんだということは分かったんですが、だからといってなかなか私たちは自分たちからそれに対して攻撃を加えるとか、なかなかまだそこまで至ってないんですよね、考え方がね。
さすがにねここまでストレートに日本ではないわけですけど、ただしやっぱり情報の大切さというのを感じるわけですね。よくウサギというのは長い耳を持っているって言い方しますよね。ウサギって非常に弱い動物だから敵から攻撃されたらひとたまりもない。だから自分の危険を察知するために長い耳を持っているっていう言い方をしてますよね。だから日本のような国も長い耳を持つ、つまり周りの国がどんな状況なのかという情報を収集し、それを的確に判断していくということが求められるのかなと思いますね。
そうですね。ただそれに対してですね、攻撃的なことを考えるというのではなくて、その情報が来たところで、じゃあそれに対して私たちが望む形で対峙するのはどういう方法がいいのかということを考えていかなければいけないんじゃないかと思います。
YouTube 学園から新しい本が生まれました。
ドナルド・トランプ前解説、世界をかき回すトランプ氏が次に考えていること。
世界そして日本はこれからどうなるのか徹底解説しています。
YouTube 学園特別授業、ぜひお読みください。